Hi, my name is Zach Gonzales, and I'm here today to discuss the imbalance of globalization and sustainability, how a practice that is meant to connect the world severs the relationship between the human race and its environment. So I have a quote to open this up, and it states, "The exploitation of the Earth's resources has intensified and expanded in geographic scope, while the growth of corporate and state capitalism, technological innovation, and population, runaway climate change has been described as the biggest crisis of the 21st century. At this point in time, humans are heavily reliant on the consumption of fossil fuels, and this plays a big role in economic prosperity and globalization, the intensification of global interconnectedness. And although this is a win for capitalism and global markets, this is the origin of human-induced global warming, where carbon dioxide emissions from natural resources increase planet Earth's temperature, the acidification of oceans, and the mass extinction of species. Today I'll be going into in-depth on human relations with the Earth currently and how it plays a dominant role in our environment. And ultimately, the point of this video is to demonstrate the dilemma of reducing emissions and slowing global warming, but simultaneously maintaining economic prosperity within countries. So to give a brief background, the Industrial Revolution is the origin of where this Anthropocene time period began, where the 19th century humans began to use natural resources such as coal to power machinery and ultimately allow for the mass production of goods and items on a global scale. Unfortunately, these actions intensified climate change, but at the same time intensified globalization. So in the peer-reviewed article I used, the writer demonstrates a perfect real-life example of this and how it's occurring with Asia-Pacific region and Australia. And the Asia-Pacific region is highly dependable on fossil fuels, and Australia is one of the leaders in exporting coal. And the writer talks about how Australia is also one of the, per capita, it leads in CO2 emissions in the world. And he writes, Australia's black coal fuels the economies of East Asia, whose cheap manufactured commodities are part of the international flow of embodied carbon. So with this being said, it demonstrates the need for globalization and manufacturing and a great economic prosperity, but at the same time intensifies climate change, intensifies CO2 emissions, and ultimately will hurt the human race and the environment as we're seeing currently with climate change. And to move on from this, it's really important to educate ourselves and the threats on fossil fuels that pose massive threats to the environment. And some things that we can do is challenge colleges, institutions to conserve energy, invest in renewable energy, or work to elect sustainable leaders. There are so many things that can be done, and although it is hard to reach out to those corporations, it can still be done with unity of humans and